we're almost 20 games in. I think by the time the weekend's over, we'll be 20 games in, and it's time to start looking at some 5-man lineups. And so I have 3 5-man lineups that are really working and 3 that are not working very well at all. So, first one, let's start with a surprise. It's the Houston Rockets. Their starting lineup has actually played the most minutes of any lineup in the NBA so far this season. 248 minutes to be exact. They're a plus 11 net rating, 115 offense, 104 defense, which is really good. It's Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Şengün. Just for a little comparison, the 2 lineups that played the most for Houston last season were a -9 and a -11. So this is a big improvement for the Houston Rockets. So shout out to Houston. The next one is the lineup that is the most dominant in the league right now. It's the Boston Celtics. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and the Zinger are a plus 27. They're a 123 offense, 96
Lord.
defense. It's insane. So the best lineups over the last 4 years, I thought, like, okay, like plus 27 seems insane. Yeah. Let's go back over the last 4 years and see just how insane it is. Last season, the best 5-man lineup that played significant minutes was the Chicago Bulls. This is like maybe like the top 50 most played lineups. Chicago Bulls were actually the one, plus 14.7, with DeMar DeRozan, Pat Bev, Caruso, Levine, and Vooch.
That is kind of wild.
That
it was that lineup, given what's going on currently.
Yeah, because like and like all their lineups right now are so bad. Like like, player Vooch with anybody, and it's really bad. But like the conversations are like, oh yeah, like they should have known last season that like that this was never ever going to work. It's like, well, actually, like,
true.
Lineup kind of worked, and it's with Pat Bev, and like clearly, like there's something there with these like point of attack defenders, along with DeMar DeRozan and Levine and Vooch. Like you need those guys there. But also maybe that was just a one season thing, because it's been really bad so far.
And maybe they just needed to unleash Alex Caruso the entire time.
I mean, maybe
as we saw last night.
Yeah, no kidding. In the season before, in the 21-22 season, the team with the best net rating for a 5-man lineup was the Boston Celtics. Again, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Horford, and Rob Williams were plus 24.6 on the season.
What was
played lineups?
You may be getting to it, but what was like the KD Warriors?
I didn't go back that far. Oh, okay. I just wanted to go. I honestly wanted to go back in just recent history, just because the offenses have changed so much with like how they are right now, that it's even hard to compare what teams used to be, because like the margins were just so much smaller. And so I really just wanted to go back a few years. But you could check it out while I'm reading this next one, which is from 2020-2021. It's the Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich, and Joe Ingles. They were plus 19 in the 2020-21 season. Very, very good. And then the 19-20 season, this is also another one I would not have predicted, but one of the best 50 most played lineups. Plus 18 is the New Orleans Pelicans. Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Zion Williamson, and Derek Favors was the best net rating for a 5-man group in the 19-20 season that had like the top 50 most played lineups. So did you find
yes. Now this is Cleaning the Glass, so it might be slightly different. But yeah, the starting lineup, which had Zaza Pachulia in it, plus 23.5.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. The Celtics are plus 27. It's crazy. Okay. Last lineup that is working, which I find very interesting, in 148 minutes together. It's the Los Angeles Clippers. James Harden, Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi, and Zubats. Plus 21.5. In their
interesting minutes. Yeah, well, I mean, they finally split up Harden and Russ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, although, I was watching the game last night and they're still closing with both of those guys.
I know. Well, there's more on that here. Okay. So that lineup, 122 offensive rating, 100 defense. Like that's very, very good. If you look back when they started the season with Westbrook starting and Covington in the lineup instead of Terrence Mann, in 51 minutes they were plus 38. Like very, very good. Like they were just
small
cruising.
sample though. So small.
It's small, but it
Tiny.
still was good. It still was good. But when you put Westbrook and Harden in there with Paul George, Kawhi, and Zubats so far this season, minus 22.6.
Yeah.
Their defense is fine. It's at a 110. It's like, okay, like that's not good, but teams can manage with a 110 defense right now. Offensive rating 86 points or 87.6.
Yeah.
Is their offensive rating. It's the bottom of the barrel. I mean, the worst offense in the NBA right now is a 105. That's the worst one. It's the Portland Trail Blazers. Worst offense in the league, 105. And they're 87.6.
I will say, watching the game last night against the Warriors, at the end of the game, there were like if Paul George hits like 2 of these threes that he could very well normally make, like they would have looked a lot better. Like I actually enjoyed some of the like Westbrook crashing the offensive boards and then immediately kicking out to a shooter.
Sure.
But in general, yes, it has not worked. Maybe it'll eventually work, but it doesn't seem like it's working.
Well, there's only one lineup that has played at least 100 minutes with an offensive rating below 100 so far besides this lineup, and it is the New York Knicks. So we're moving on to the three lineups that are not working. In 104 minutes, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson are a minus 11.4. It's not great. And what's really weird, this doesn't mean anything except for it's just really weird. In exactly 104 minutes, so both these lineups have both played 104 minutes. With Quickly, DiVincenzo, Hart, Barrett, and Hartenstein, they're a plus 11. So 104 minutes. That first lineup I mentioned was minus 11. In 104 minutes, this other Knicks lineup is plus 11. Found it to be very weird. Doesn't mean much.
I wonder, really,
but it's
I have a feeling, is that first one being weighed down by Julius Randle early season?
I mean, for sure, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. But the symmetry there was a little
hard to ignore.
It's hard to ignore. I'm obsessed with it. Honestly,
he loves numerology, folks.
It's true. Another one, they talked about this on the Tampering podcast yesterday, but it's the Golden State Warriors. In 103 minutes, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney are a minus 10.6. 122 defensive rating, which is like the staggering part of it. It's like they can't stop anybody. And they're 111 on offense, which is just kind of like normal bad. Like it's just not very good. In fact, Alex, we know how bad the Pistons are. It's well documented. The entire world was watching as the Pistons just wet the bed, or maybe just they were constipated beyond.
They were stopped up
this week, just totally stopped up. But their starting lineup is actually a little bit better than the Warriors starting lineup so far this season at a minus 10.1 and the Warriors at a minus 10.6. Like that's bad. I feel like it just has to correct itself. I just think that this is like they're unsustainably bad as a starting lineup. And you would just think that like Wiggins will get better, although he slammed his finger in the door.
Yes, missed a game.
He missed a game. Klay, I think, will get better. I mean, I just have to believe that they will. I don't know that they're going to be great. Like they were just pummeling teams last year. But to be worse, for their starters to be worse than the Pistons starters just feels like unimaginable.
That's the one where even with it's obviously a super small sample. That's the one where I am just a little bit worried because I just need to see it more from Wiggins, see it more from Klay.
Yeah.
And, last night Wiggins wasn't there. And I really like what they have off the bench with some of these guys.
Yeah.
And I think at some point you're just going to have to give them more minutes, like Podziemski and Moses Moody, because they're good.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good players. Yeah. Maybe they do need a change somewhere. All right. Last one. I mentioned the Indiana Pacers at the start of this. The Pacers in 135 minutes with Halliburton, Mathurin, Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner are a -2.5. Defensive rating of 120, offensive rating of 118. It's not very good. But all you have to do is take out Ben Mathurin and put in Buddy Hield, and you're just cooking with gasoline here. Plus 25.4 when you make that switch. 138 offense and a respectable 113 defense when you make that switch so far this season. I thought, like, boy, I mean, that is quite an exchange, because a lot of times it's like, oh, you change like one or two players or even like three players surrounding like some of the stars and things change pretty significantly. It's just providing like the floor spacing of Buddy Hield just like completely unlocks everything for this Pacers team.
Yeah, I maybe buy the offensive side. I do not buy that adding Buddy Hield makes them like a really solid defensive unit.
But yeah. It's and maybe it's just like Mathurin's still learning the league,
Yeah.
It's still his second season. And Buddy Hield is never going to be like some lockdown defender, but he's been in the league for a long time. Like, he at least knows like positionally where he needs to be. He's never going to be good or a stopper. I mean, he's definitely the worst defender of that bunch. But I don't know. It's working. It's working with Buddy Hield, not working so much with Ben Mathurin. And and maybe the destiny of Ben Mathurin is to be their sixth man, because that was always the kind of guy that he profiled to be a little bit. It's like,
Yeah.
with the ball in his hand, somebody that can get downhill, get to the free throw line, get buckets on his own. I'm not saying that like that has to be where he's headed, but like so far this season, it's pretty clear that their starting lineup's better with just a pure floor spacer at the two.